Okay, so before I get started, I just kind of want a feel of who is in the room. Is everyone in IT? Is there anyone who's, yeah, we're all in IT? Okay, so who here is proper geek? Who actually codes here? Hands up. Oh, and keep your hands up if you've actually coded blockchain, like actually. Oh, that's pretty much all of you. Well done. Okay, good. So, I am Susan Madison, and I am here with Cliff and Ian. We are the UK contingent of Trusted Property, and our main partners are over in Shanghai. But a little bit about me before I get started. So, I have 20 years experience in IT, or what I like to call adventures in IT. Worn many hats, worked in many industries, and I actually started my career at 16. I kind of skipped the whole A-levels uni thing. My dad thought it would be a waste of my time and his money, so I dived straight in. And what I find most interesting is that my career started at the dawn of the internet age. So for the past 20 years, I've watched the internet weave its way into our businesses and lives and really change the way how we interact with each other. And it's happening all again. You know, we're in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, and that's where the big four of technologies, so blockchain, big data, AI, ML, VR, AR, the fusion of that is gonna change the way we live, work, and interact all over again. And it's really, really exciting. So I personally like blockchain, and the company, how Trusted Property was formed, was actually born in the summer of last year, July 2017, 2017, and is Cliff and his old school friend who lives over in Shanghai, Peter. So they birthed this idea of merging blockchain with real estate. They started thinking about it, starting to form more of a team, starting to get the devs together. And my dad and Cliff, they used to work at Digital Catapult, which I think there's another couple of you in here as well. So that's the government's innovation hub. So they used to work together, and that's where Cliff first started playing around with blockchain and kind of coding it, playing around, experimenting. And so anyway, Cliff phoned my dad on his birthday last November, catching up, what's going on. And he's like, do you want to get involved in this thing I'm doing, Trusted Property? And he's like, yeah, okay, we'll get involved. We'll get Susan involved as well. And here we are today. So, this is our mission. We want to globally disrupt the real estate industry by applying blockchain innovations to the real estate process, all the different property transactions you might see, like the conveyancing, the buying, the checking who you are, your credit history, all of that good stuff. And really change the way we trust each other, trust systems on the network, devices on the network, and change the way we rent and buy. It's a really exciting mission. So, property. So can I assume that everyone here has rented somewhere, bought somewhere? Yeah? Okay, so give me some of the annoying things about renting or buying a property.
Paying the rent.
Sorry?
Paying the rent.
Paying rent, yeah, that can be annoying. What else? What else is difficult? Like, has anyone here bought a property in a week? Anybody? You're laughing, why is that funny? What about, have you maybe rented, you've seen somewhere you want to rent and you got it done within a day? Has anyone done that? No? Okay. What about, does anyone here love estate agents? No. Okay, all right then. So, there's a lot of things wrong. When I look at the property industry, it's one of the processes which really hasn't had much digital innovation to it. I mean, outdated, your customer, client, whatever you want to call it. Like, every time I've had to get some weird third-party company and I've got to either fill out the form online or I've got to write it out. I have to remember all of my address history. You'd think I'd be clever and I would have actually written it down somewhere. But it's very, very outdated, and most of the time you have to print it off and you have to sign. You might get lucky and get to do DocuSign, digital signature. But everything still involves third parties, the credit check people, the estate agent, lawyers, all that fun stuff. And then we have the problem of, sometimes they go, oh, bijou room, or, lovely little end terrace, and actually the room ends up being 4 meters squared, or the house is literally like this big. Or maybe it's missing details, like you really wanted to know, is the garden south facing? and you just don't know. And then you have to phone up a human. And if you're like a techie geek person, you don't want to talk to a human. Yeah? There's lots of stuff in there. I mean, me personally, the fastest time I've ever bought a property is 1 month. And that's because I had the money, there was no chain, and the lawyer was my ex's dad. 1 month. It's like unheard of. But imagine if we could make that a week. And also with deposits. I've lost money. So I rented out my flat, and the tenant was very, very annoying, trashed the place, but because I couldn't prove it, and you know, the tenant basically just left, my 1,500 quid deposits just sat there in a third party, and I can't get to it. It's really annoying. But you know, I'm sure you've got a lot of experience with this. High agency fees, legal fees, months of conveyance process, and then it could fall through because one of the people in the chain is unreliable. Yeah? Any of you experienced any of these? Crap landlords, shitty buyers? Yeah? Okay. So what's the solution then? So we want to apply blockchain, digital IDs, smart contracts, to make a decentralized real estate platform where eventually I think the more people we get onto blockchain, it becomes more mainstream, then we'll be able to like get rid of perhaps all of the middlemen, but for now we can definitely get rid of the estate agent. We're probably going to have to keep the legal guys in there for the foreseeable future. But the more mainstream this becomes, better. So here's the rough business model for this. So let's look at smart contracts for rental. Is everyone here aware of roughly what a smart contract is? It's kind of like a automated flow and rule set, so that technically you don't have to get too involved. So you've got the usual actors used in the systems. You have landlords, properties, tenants. You see there's no estate agents in there. Probably should be a lawyer in there somewhere, but we're being hopeful. And so along the smart contract will be defined by the steps in the process and the various definitions of each step. So for example, so you've usually got, you know, the agent will get his fee, the deposit will be held securely, and I should be able to get to the damn thing should things happen. Your rent should just get paid automatically. That'd be great. You don't even have to think about it. And then maintenance costs. If you think about this one, so I rent at the moment. My landlord is crap. Like the only time he got involved was when the boiler broke on Christmas Day. That was literally the only time. Anything else, he's not around. But imagine if in the smart contract, it said that the landlord is responsible for the boiler, the toilet, the garden, whatever else, and there's certain parameters in there. And the boiler, because this is, I think, IoT blockchain meetup as well. So imagine these devices, your fridge breaks, the washing machine's got a little device in there as well. The machine will automatically tell the blockchain, tell the landlord, and if it's in the parameters of the contract, it'll release the money, go get the people in, etc., etc. Sounds awesome, doesn't it? It's all very possible. And then when you come on to buying a property, same thing, just more actors and a bit more of a process in there. So we have the banks in there, and they'll do, hopefully credit history, it'll just be there. You're not going to have to enter this stuff in over and over and over again. And you'll already know what your credit limit is. You won't be going buying a £5 million house, etc., and wasting everyone's time unless you got the money for it. But you can see here the very, very high level steps of smart contract for buying. Obviously, we do all of this stuff as well. Check out everyone, verify the buyer, the property, land registry stuff. And yeah, exchange contracts, update everything on the network, job done. It's very easy. A lot of this stuff now, there's no reason. It's a standard process. There's standard parameters, standard people on there. There's no reason why you can't automate a lot of the real estate end-to-end process. So in regards to the trusted property blockchain, the core pieces of information are there. It's obviously your personal data, the property information, and then obviously the ownership of the land as well. And that's all written into the chain. And as you know, we cannot delete from the chain. We cannot modify the data on there. So you can quickly see, like anyone can quickly query what is going on with either this person, that landlord, that buyer, or the physical property itself. And they can get all of the details that they may want to know. There's a lot of these ones here, just standard blockchain things. So you'll know that every piece and person on the blockchain, the data is authentic. It's been verified, it's secure, you're not going to be able to hack it unless you can somehow take over the whole world, 50% of the network on there. And that you know that the property is what it says. It was built when it said, it's made out of this material, it's had the electricity test done on it, etc., etc. You'll be able to quickly find that yourself just by querying the network. No third-party middleman involved. Secure and private. As you know, with blockchain, very clever cryptography and technology. So we can query the data without actually having to see it. Going, is this person this old? Is this person, do they have that credit history? Is it within these parameters? So you have your classified proprietary data, the public data, and completely private. And it can all be controlled by you. Whoever owns that data is in control of who gets to see it, which actors get to see it, bits of the system. And it's decentralized, as we know. So we no longer do we get tied into Foxtons, or can only get listed on Zoopla, or have to use this certain type of legal person, or this type of credit check person. None of that is needed anymore, which will, do the usual reduce costs, speed up the process. I really honestly think eventually you will be able to rent a property within a day. And in theory, buy a property within a week maximum. It could take days as well, but we will see. Learn by doing. And as well as the blockchain, so once we get this going a little bit more, we're going to apply artificial intelligence, machine learning on the data set that we start collecting. So we'll be able to check for fraud, we'll be able to do little patterns, could maybe tweak the advertising a little bit. What else is there? Interoperable, this one's a cool one here. So obviously it's all going to be API-based, open, everyone can see what we're doing. But the blockchain is also going to do cross-chain address linking. So say if somebody comes up with digital ID standard or electronic health record standard or whatever, rather than you having to register our version of the digital ID, we can link the addresses onto the other blockchain and still be able to verify your data. So be very interoperable and open, all those good standards we love about modern technology. And incentive-based. As you know, it's kind of great. Once you get people on your network, you need to get people to use it. And to get people to use it, it's, reciprocity is there. If you're going to give something, you want to get some goodies back. So we've designed some community incentives, pay your rent, get a token. And by the way, instead of calling them coins, we told them tokens, because we're going to launch in China first, and coin is a sensitive word over there. So trusted property token is the coin for us. But if you refer a friend, you write a review, pay for advertising, you kind of give us little bits more of data. So we don't really need to, we might need to know your date of birth, but we don't need to know where you're born, for example, or what music you like. But if you give us this stuff, maybe we can offer you more personalized service somehow. So the more you interact, the more information you give, the more you recommend, the more involved you are in the community, you will get tokens, which then you can use to buy stuff, maybe get discounts on your rent, things like that, pay for the boiler when it breaks down. So on to the tech stack. So the front end, we're using React.js, React Mobile. There's be a web front end and mobile, which is in development right now. The deep learning is TensorFlow, and then Python backend and APIs. And, TensorFlow is the smart contract. What's the smart contract?
Ethereum.
Ethereum, okay, all right. So this is the rough tech stack here. We do have more detail, should anyone be interested afterwards. But, basic logical layers there. And the methods we are following, typical thing if you're in the IT industry, is define something, so minimum viable product, go and test it out somewhere, and then do lots of learning by doing, tweak, iterate, and then eventually launch properly. So for us, we're in the process of building the MVP. So it's actually creating the blockchain, personal data registry, the property registry, all of the APIs, website, mobile app, and the MVP for the rental market. This is where we're going to go because it's a slightly less complex than buying a property. We're going to do rental market in Shanghai. Now, we've got ADAX as a local exchange there. We've already paid them to list the coin. So we are going to be doing the first MVP and trial with an estate agent we're partnering there with in May, end of May. We're actually going to start trialing this out. And then keep going, and eventually we will launch. Now, you're probably wondering why Shanghai. So obviously, the idea was born with Peter, which is Cliff's old school friend and co-founder of Trusted Property. But in Shanghai, they need this more than us. There is no credit checks over there, and apparently the trust system doesn't really work over there. I was over in Shanghai on business in January and happened to meet Peter, and he was telling me that actually they list fake properties on there and then take your money. It's that bad over there. Slightly more corrupt over here. And also the reason why China is really, really great is they already have the digital ID and mobile payment thing going on there. So I was there, and I have my cousins there as well. And every time I tried to pay for stuff, I obviously don't have WeChat. And I tried to pay for cash, or even a card. It looked like they're going to stab me in the eye anytime I tried to pay with something other than my mobile phone. It's a completely awesome digital system, and you just need a phone to live over there. So they're already in that digital mindset. Some of the infrastructure is there. And actually, the Chinese government really, really is backing blockchain. So as well as having the connections out there, we've decided to launch there. So here's a little bit about the timeline. So as I mentioned before, in the summer of 2017 is when the idea was born. And we've quickly got the leadership team together. The advisors, we have one of them here, Bertrand, super geek. He's been involved in lots and lots of blockchain projects and programs, so he really has hands-on experience of what not to do and war stories with implementing actual technology solutions in blockchain. The delivery team is over in China. We've got a big team of developers, QAs, et cetera, et cetera. And in 2017, there was a lot of thought that went into the architecture and design of the system, all the various components we would need over the development timeline. So as I said, we're going to go with Shanghai first, because that's where we have a lot of the connections there, and there's more of a need and more problems there than, say, over in the UK. We'll have the rental MVP, and we predict it's always good to test for 3 to 6 months, so we'll probably reiterate and release a new version of the app, website, etc. every 4 weeks, add features, learnings. There's going to be a lot of those, and then obviously scale a little bit, have more agencies, more properties, more users, and see how we go. And the intention is to launch it properly, the full rental platform with the advertising platform, etc., in Q1 of 2019, based on how well the learning by doing goes. And then during this as well, we'll be building the conveyancing, buying a property MVP in parallel to all of this. So once we've launched the rental platform, we're going to do piloting the buying platform, which needs a bit more thought, a bit more connections, because we are still going to have lawyers, etc., involved in that one. And iterate, launch it, pilot it, etc., and launch it fully in Shanghai. Now, after Shanghai, we've picked to do Dubai over London. And that's because, as well as me being born and raised in Saudi Arabia, we have a lot of connections in Dubai. But Dubai is actually one of the governments where they already mandate that everything is submitted electronically. If it's an insurance claim, your rent, your ID card, they already have a lot of the digital infrastructure in place. And in Christmas last year, they've said, big vision, as the Arabs tend to do, that they want to be the first blockchain government by 2020. There's a lot of stuff going on there in Dubai in 2020. And knowing from working in the insurance industry with the Arabs, they will literally set the date, set the guidelines, and they will fine you if you're not compliant by then. So it seems like a good place once we've tested it out in Shanghai, that move it over to Dubai, where we have the connections and the government are already doing it as well, and everything's all digital. And then London. So once we've done a lot of learning, probably for a good couple of years, then we want to bring this to London as well. And it's really, really, really exciting. I mean, can you imagine where you've got really high trust in the property process, it's automated. You can quickly do stuff and you don't even have to think about it. You define the contract once, they know who you are, you never have to explain yourself again. Very, very, very secure, where you are back in control of your data. You don't have to worry about it being hacked, etc., etc. And you can really trust who's on the network and the property that you're actually buying. And everything, as you know, is being super, super transparent. Like, everything is open. Anyone can query anything. There's no more secrets anymore. Say the only privacy we're going to have is in your head. But even then, they're going to have chips implanted in there soon. But there's so many other things here. I mean, there's not going to be any annoying estate agents anymore. We could do cool stuff like crowdfunding property purchases. Would be very, very simple with blockchain end-to-end infrastructure in place. And this one here is really, really cool. You could either do it with co-buy or co-pay. But as you know, like, I'm guessing none of you are like millionaires here, but if you wanted to buy a property in the central of London, zone 1, 2, or 3, you need a fair amount of cash. And not many people have that nowadays. So imagine if you could actually co-buy a property and have the smart contracts in place, all the shares are physically there, and you're not tied into it. So at the moment you buy a property, it's yours, and if you try and like buy a property with someone else, it takes a lot of legal process and pain and emotions to break it up. But if there was blockchain involved and smart contracts, digital IDs, you can just leave, done, get paid your share of the contract, and then you're finished and sell it on to somebody else. Can you imagine what that would be like? So that's it from Trusted Property, and I hope you found it interesting. It's really got the ideas going on your head. So whenever I talk about blockchain and the fourth industrial revolution, people are kind of like, so what? But just how, 20 years ago you would have said, yeah, I kind of get that internet thing, but I don't really see how it's going to be useful. This is what's going to be happening with blockchain and AI and VR, big data, etc., etc. So I'm hoping that this short presentation has really started to get those cogs turning about how blockchain and all those other technologies can be applied to any industry, any process, to change the way you trust each other and the way you interact, and specifically with Trusted Property, how you rent and buy your property. And if you want to know anything else, the website is trustedproperty.io. There's a white paper up there. The GitHub repository's up there if you're that nosy and that geeky. But we're going to be here afterwards. You can ask us lots of questions about it. And yeah, if you're interested for feedback and any ideas you have as well. Thank you.